right, in this episode, we're going to talk about children who are really young that commit crime. All right, so this one's titled When Your Child is a Criminal, and it's the day after Thanksgiving. Hopefully, all of you had a good Thanksgiving and ate a lot. And for those of you who didn't have a good Thanksgiving, well, may God bless you and you'll be blessed even more throughout this holidays. And I pray for those of you who are not doing well. You know, when I do my podcast, it's all about being positive. And again, I try to put God in my podcast and Christ in it. Again, I'm not preaching anything, I'm not laying down anything on you guys. But I believe that as I get older, I believe in, God more than ever, actually, because I've been through some bad times. And so let's just go over some things. Okay, so what kind, sorry, until I get my better, I got another podcast coming. I'm going to get better equipment and it'll be more stable. But anyway, so what kind of a child turns to crime? Okay, it could be a multitude of reasons, all right? So, no, people are not born criminal. So, no, people are not born criminal. Criminality is not predetermined by a single trait or gene. However, a combination of biological predispositions and environmental factors can increase an individual's likelihood of engaging in criminal behavior. Modern theory suggests that genetics and environment interact, where a biological vulnerability might make a person more susceptible to negative influences like abuse or poverty, leading to a higher chance of developing criminal tendencies. Okay, all right, Jacob. Biological factors, genes, certain genes like the MAOA, try that again, like the MAOA gene are linked to aggression, but they do not guarantee criminal behavior. Instead, they can increase a person's susceptibility to environmental triggers. All right. Brain chemistry. Variations in brain chemistry, neurotransmitters, and hormones can play a role in aggressive behavior. A friend of mine, her son has ADHD, and this was a long time ago, and he was very aggressive and committed a crime actually in Maui, where I'm at right now. So sorry, my microphone's slipping, but you know, things like that doesn't really make someone a criminal, but certain things can trigger someone to become negative and possibly become a criminal. So personality traits, some inherited personality traits such as temperament can influence the likelihood of criminal activity. I kind of just said that just now. So environmental factors, upbringing, negative or abusive family rearing conditions can trigger a genetic vulnerability and lead to antisocial behavior. All right. Social and cultural environment, socio-economic deprivation, poverty, and other social factors are strongly linked to crime. Lifestyle, external factors such as the presence of graffiti have been shown to double criminal activity in certain areas. Not a guarantee, but you know, it's kind of the likelihood. The interactionist perspective, the most comprehensive view is that criminality results from an interaction between nature and nurture. Biological factors alone do not cause crime, and environmental factors alone do not make criminals out of everyone. So remember that, all right? It is the combination of predispositions and circumstances that can lead to criminal behavior. All right, so I'm going to talk about these two kids, all right? Jon Venables and Robert Thompson, all right? Both aged 10 at the time of the crime. Remember that. John and Robert, both age 10. 10. 10 years old. Imagine that, 10 years old. Uh, and they committed a crime when they were 10 years old. Okay, so what happened was they abducted, tortured, and murdered 2-year-old James Bulger or Bulger. Let's call him, I don't know, Bulger. Let's call him Bulger in Bootle, Merseyside, United Kingdom in 1993. All right. Again, Jon Venables and Robert Thompson were both 10 years old, abducted a 2-year-old, abducted him, tortured him, and murdered him. So James Bulger in the UK was only 2 years old in 1993. The brutality of the crime sparked international outrage and intense discussion about the nature of childhood violence. They were imprisoned in a youth offenders institution until they turned 18 and were then released on a lifelong license with new identities. Check that out. Okay, so how do you think the parents of the victim felt? Psychological analysis of Jon Venables and Robert Thompson largely attribute their actions to severe childhood neglect and highly dysfunctional home environments, though their specific backgrounds and post-conviction paths showed different psychological profiles. All right. So shared psychological factors: nurture, neglect, and abuse. Both boys came from backgrounds characterized by a profound lack of nurturing, emotional support, and parental care, which psychologists agree significantly contributed to their behavioral issues. Right? Exposure to violence. Their home lives involved exposure to significant domestic problems and violence, which may have normalized aggression and hindered the development of empathy and self-control. Right? Inability to regulate emotions. Okay, the lack of a stable, loving environment likely hindered the proper development of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and emotional regulation. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Both suffered from PTSD as a result of the murder itself and the subsequent trial and imprisonment, which reportedly exacerbated their distress. Very interesting, right? So I talk about a lot about the mind because I really started to, I was really intrigued with psychology probably about maybe 7 years ago. And I'll get into that later. And that's why I'm trying to do this life coaching thing and this podcast and trying to be positive. Okay, so individual psychological profiles. Robert Thompson, the first kid, 10 years old. His background. Thompson endured a more overtly traumatic and violent upbringing than Venables, all right? He was a victim of physical and sexual abuse by his father, witnessed severe domestic violence, and was also bullied by his older brothers. His mother was an alcoholic and neglectful. Total dysfunction. Total dysfunction. And that's why, as they get older, and I really believe we should bring God back into society, mainstream, and not to be like holier than anybody else, but just the common sense values of being a human being. Okay, that's for later, all right? I won't bore you with the God thing right now. Psychological profile. He was described as more streetwise and potentially the dominant instigator in the crime, controlling the situation as it unfolded. Some expert opinions have described him as potentially a true psychopath due to a lack of remorse at the time, but psychiatric reports before his release described him as posing a trivial risk. He is understood to have been successfully rehabilitated and has not reoffended since his release in 2001. So this guy is loose as an adult. You never know. Recidivism. Right? Jon Venables' background. While not exposed to the same level of overt violence as Thompson, Venables' family life was also dysfunctional. with estranged parents and a mother who suffered from psychiatric problems. He reportedly took the separation of his parents poorly and was noted by teachers to have problematic behavior. Psychological profile. Venables was found to be emotionally immature, behaving like a younger child emotionally. Early psychiatric assessments noted intense distress, guilt, and post traumatic effects, finding it difficult to discuss the murder. Unlike Thompson, Venables has reoffended multiple times since his release, mainly for offenses involving indecent images of children, which some experts link to an underlying personality dysfunction requiring intensive psychotherapy. In essence, psychologists highlight that the interaction between their disturbed individual personalities created a recipe for murder where one's issues amplified the others, leading to the horrific crimes. All right, so this is just a short one, and I'm just gonna like comment on what I just read. So you got these two kids who are 10 years old. Uh, let me see what was his name is again. John Venables and Robert Thompson, at the time in 1993 in the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, 10 years old in 1993, committed a heinous, brutal crime, abducting a 2-year-old boy. Abducted and tortured that kid, and then murdered that kid. Imagine, first of all, 10 years old, they're children, right? I mean, they're a child. They're kids. They're babies back basically, in a sense. They took a 2-year-old, a toddler, and messed him up. And how does that affect the psychology of the parents till this day? I don't know if they're alive. I just got this and decided to go and run with this story, because what happened back then is probably happening right now. It's probably happening right now in this day and age. That's why I believe we should bring God back into our lives. And I'm not preaching Christianity, just for me. Maybe you believe in something else, but also is peaceful and structured, where your beliefs, maybe it's not Christ, it's something else, but you believe that you should rear your children, you should teach your children what's right in society, what's wrong. Again, loving, says in the Bible, Jesus said, don't judge anyone, just do me a favor and love your fellow brothers and sisters. Love my followers. Love anyone, even your enemies. Jesus is like, your enemy needs food, give him food. You know what I mean? But the Bible also talks about wisdom, knowing when to turn away from evil. And a parent that is dysfunctional cannot raise the chances of a dysfunctional partnership, two parents. If they're dysfunctional, there's a good chance their kid will be dysfunctional, will be a criminal, will be a recidivist, meaning they'll repeat offenses. But there's no guarantee. I mean, I know of people that grew up in dysfunctional homes but didn't turn out to be bad people. So I have to watch what I say, all right? But I'm just saying the chances are, if you raise a child without any love and understanding, they're going to turn out dysfunctional, pretty much in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, I'll be doing my real podcast. I got the intro. This is like the I don't know if this is gonna be the right intro if you saw it in the beginning of this one, but I'm gonna have the real podcast up soon, and I'll get some professionals to kind of make it look really nice with the cherry on top of the milkshake. You know what I mean? So anyway, you guys take care. God bless, and have wisdom in your life. All right. If you don't have wisdom, seek wisdom. Seek instruction before you delve into anything. Maybe you want to buy a house. Don't listen to Joe down the road who doesn't know much about real estate, and he tells you he and his wife invested and they're making money. Well, he might be just talking. So wisdom first. If you're going to buy a house, talk to a real estate agent, talk to several real estate agents, talk to people that are successful in real estate. That's just one wisdom stuff I want to talk about. And it goes with anything, right? You want to learn about cooking, get safety, get knowledge about food service, food handling, all that kind of stuff. Get knowledge, get wisdom. In the Bible, it says, if you got wisdom, it's worth more than gold, more than anything. And that's really true. You look at all the wealthy people in life that did the right thing, they had wisdom. And of course, there's reckless investors. I get that. But the true successful people that ran businesses and gave to their communities and helped bring up young ones in the community, those are the people that you got to look at. And nobody's perfect. I get that. They could be doing some shady things on the side, but I'm just saying a good percentage of a human being that's not dysfunctional. All right? You get it. Wisdom first. God bless, guys.